do? It's your boy Supreme Uchiha the God. Hey guys, what it do? Is your boy Supreme Uchiha the God, and today I want to talk about Luther, baby. This is from the Umbrella Academy. I'm going to talk about between seasons 1, 2, and 3. I don't think this video will be as long as Allison's, just because I was very heated for that video and had a lot more to say. But I do want to touch up on Luther and the interesting character growth, development, and scenarios he's been put through. Now, we know Hargreaves, obviously, Mr. Hargreaves himself is a manipulative alien person that wants to, I suppose, reset the universe so that his wife would be alive and perhaps his planet, because we know that he left his planet when it was being destroyed for some varying reason. He started the Umbrella Academy to use these kids as batteries to charge his ship, but also to use them as weapons to destroy the Guardian that's in the ship. I'm still not 100% sure why there's a Guardian in the ship and stuff like that, so we're going to have to figure it out. Perhaps it's to prevent anybody from restarting the universe. But then how did, Hargreaves use that ship to escape in the first place? It's with so many questions. Hopefully we'll find these answers in season 4. But more importantly, I want to talk about Luther and how Hargreaves impacted him, especially early on. So we got to imagine you got a bunch of kids who are basically trained and forced to become superheroes. And you got another kid who's super strength and doesn't really have any unique ability. He was probably smart at the time, but isn't the smartest shed in the tool. Isn't the smartest tool. Isn't the smartest tool in the shed. And he's placed in charge of a team, and a mission goes horribly wrong and he gets completely injured, and in an attempt to revive him and fix him up, the dad basically creates a monster. Then that same person is in charge when they go on, and like the brother dies as well. Ben dies. That same person was in charge when the brother died, etc., leaving him completely scarred, obviously. Like, he was in charge and he failed. So this kind of leads to already a mental dilemma. And he feels like, okay, it was for the sake of the mission. And he trusts his dad more than anybody else in the group and just believes everything he tells him. And I think his dad placed him as the leader, as the weakest, because he put him in charge as the leader because he kind of feels like he's the weakest or one of the weakest. And therefore, it is easier to manipulate him. And if everybody would follow him, then, and he's the one manipulating the head, then it'd be easier for him to manipulate everybody else. And because of his charisma and his characteristics, his team, they trust him. But then, when everybody else decided to leave because they got sick of everything that, the dad was doing, and after Ben's death, etc., it was like, he was the only one that stayed. He decided to stay. Like, nah, I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to do whatever missions you need me to do that. And his dad eventually ended up sending him to space, where he was unknowingly taking care of Hargreaves' wife. But simultaneously, he kind of kept him out of the way so that he can utilize and create a plan that would force the Umbrella Academy to reunite and, I don't know, give himself a second chance. I don't know. Hargreaves took a lot of risks, but I feel like there's like a multiverse in this shit. And I feel like all these Hargreaves are somewhat, I don't know, it's weird. It gets very complicated. But basically, Hargreaves set up a plan that was like, fuck it, if I die, it's GG. But, I'm pretty sure I can manipulate these kids to come back together and do something that's going to, I suppose, eventually cause some time paradox. I don't know. He must be like aware of other shit, because when we meet him in different timelines, he seems to be aware of everything in the other timelines. He seems to be aware of everybody else. As soon as, in season 3, as soon as he's out of his medicine, we understand that he knows everything that's going on. And he knows about everybody in the powers. And he basically said that he used this opportunity of them resetting things and changing the timeline for him to adopt different kids. And then obviously when the kids ended up drugging him, now he's thinking, fuck, I got to do this again. So it's very intriguing how that works. But I think his manipulation of of number one, aka Luther, is particularly interesting because it's more mental. It's not physical to the same way it is for Vanya and Ben. No, for Vanya and what's his name? Goddamn, for Klaus. The same way, like not the same way as it was for Klaus. Klaus and Victor, who were both like physically tortured and physically harmed, or Vanya at the time. It's not the same. It's more mental for him. It's more like, getting him to be the one to kind of, pull his siblings together and almost lay the law and basically take the burnt blame of a lot of things. And also, of course, his relationship with Allison and him being in love with Allison for all these years, and Allison almost abusing that and manipulating that in throughout the series it's very interesting, because when they go back in season 2, back in time, and Allison ends up with somebody else, even though she knew goddamn well that Luther was in love with her, sorry, and she liked Luther too, but she starts a whole new family, gets married, all that type of shit, and Luther just kind of takes it and accepts it in his stride, and the way he deals with pain is through laughter and just not really being afraid of death. It's almost like he wants to die, obviously his body dysmorphia. He has a crazy body dysmorphia since his dad fucked him up with the surgery that saved his life essentially. And it made him very withdrawn in a way, you know what I'm saying? He very withdrawn and withheld and no longer a reliable leader really. And I think that's kind of why number 5 ends up taking that leadership role most of the time whenever they're on any mission, because Luther is mentally broken at this stage, and he's basically mentally broken throughout the series, but he always tries to do what he can for his brothers and sisters and tries to be there for them regardless. And that's kind of what I find intriguing and nice about it, that despite how he was manipulated and stuff like that, he still tries to contain himself. So when in season 3 he finally finds somebody that likes them for who they are, just as is, off the rip, off the jump, there's a connection. And Allison is like jealous of that, like, oh, I don't have the attention that I normally get. And it's like, it's very intriguing because it's like, Paul, you went off and had a child with somebody else, Allison, and then you went off and married somebody else, knowing well that we was always into each other, and it's very intriguing in that case. And he took it all in his stride. He was hurt, but he never he never did anything bad on purpose to any of his teammates, and he just kind of deals with it. He kind of just deals with it. He eats and he laughs and he jokes and he's hurt and he cries, but it's all very subdued. It's all very inner. He never really goes up to any of his family members and gushes his problems out. People kind of come to him and they go to Allison and and he tries to help them. But there's no real scenes where it's like Luther is giving his emotions and what he went through to anybody else. Like, my dude was in space for years, you know what I'm saying, doing the most pointless shit ever. And it wasn't until season 3 really that we start seeing him expressing his frustration at everything that happened. The only person he ever wanted to vent to and about was the father of Mr. Hargreaves, and that's what he tried to do. Like, you sent me out there in space for nothing, you know what I'm saying, for years of my life. Like, and I think that also dashed his romance with Allison, because I think at that time they were supposed to be together, but he decided that the mission is more important because he was so dedicated to trying to impress their dad and to be the leader of the team, to be the glue of the family, that he felt, okay, saving everybody is the most important. And obviously if dad thinks this is the most important mission, then God damn it, I'm gonna take this mission. And he does take the mission and regrets it, of course, because Allison has a baby by the time he comes back, has a different life. And that's where kind of the Allison thing is also interesting, because she's not completely at fault either, considering that he he literally went to space for years. You know what I'm saying? So it's super intriguing, just the dynamics of the whole family and the cast and everybody. And that's what really makes the show very intriguing is the characters. The CGI isn't always fantastic. The goddamn narrative doesn't always make the best sense, or in terms of like the overall plot line doesn't always completely make sense. The decisions definitely don't make sense a lot of times, but the characters are fantastic. The characters are written really, really well, really, really compelling. And Luthor is one of those characters that you really see, you know, he never like blames anybody else apart from the dad, because, you know, at the end of the day, he always wanted to impress the dad, and he kind of blames himself for doing that instead of staying and with the rest of, you know, with the siblings. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why he never really lashes out at anybody, you know, except he almost lashes out at Allison when Allison is like, oh, you're in love with this person after 5-6 minutes or whatever. And he's thinking like, what a hypocrite. Like, we went back in time and you literally met somebody else and had a whole new relationship when I was looking for you this whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I had to see that. I had to live through that. You know, you already have a daughter with somebody else, which I could accept. But then to have a whole relationship and get married to somebody else again. And then obviously to Allison's defense, she was there for years and years and years. So it's hard to not get attached to something, especially when you have nothing. And I love that, the fact that everybody's at fault, but nobody's like completely just utterly at fault. Like even Allison in season 3, you should watch my Allison video, why I don't think she's completely at fault for everything she did this season. And why I think that people are actually overreacting and that she's correct most of the season. But check out my video. I'm gonna link it in the bio. Check that shit out on the description. Check that shit out. But yeah, man, that's Luthor. That's Luthor. Very complex, complicated character. I want to see what happens in season 4 since he's like dead and shit. But I mean, they're back now, but he's no powers. He's doesn't have to wear a monkey suit anymore. Which I'm glad for, because, you know, sometimes that shit did look clunky as hell. So it's exciting to see what growth they have next season. But, you know, I'm a little bit annoyed that every single freaking end of the season they end up separating. Although, to be fair, in season 2 they didn't separate on purpose. You know what I mean? So maybe not every single season they separate. But yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think is going to happen? What do you guys think is going to happen when it comes to Luthor? And what do you think about his trauma, the body dysmorphia, him, you know? I think that's where his love for the new girl also hits, is that she never sees that as a problem, mainly because she grew up with a family member with a face that's like fucking fucked up, a guy that has octopus body limbs and other stuff. So it's very intriguing. Anyways, been your boy Supreme Chi the God. I'm out.